Broadcasting live from Syracuse, New York, it's the PS&Ed Show. Addressing topics of public safety, education, and much more. Please welcome your hosts, Matt Mallory and Pat Kimball.
Hello, everybody. It's Matt
and Pat.
And we're here with the PS&Ed Show and our good friend, Anthony Commo from Century Arms.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And it's not Cuomo, it's Commo. Just to make sure you get that, being in New York, you know.
Not a Cuomo. Not even close.
I'm really glad we got out ahead of that, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to
hate mail. No hate mail.
No hate mail. Please, no hate mail.
Cool. So you drove in to do some distribution stuff here in the state today,
Talking
right?
to the guys over at Amchar. Yeah.
Okay, Amchar. Yeah, we're going to be setting up with them for our FFL, our distributorship.
Super cool.
So that's good. And then you decided to stop in and see us, which we're
I did.
happy in studio, which is awesome.
I'm here.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so what kind of new things do you have going on? What kind of things do we want to let our viewers know about within the company?
Well, we've got a bunch of new stuff. We've always got new stuff coming out. The biggest thing that we've got going on right now, we've got a brand new U.S.-made AK called the VSKA that's just coming out a couple weeks ago.
Cool.
We're just starting to get them into the market. It's 100% U.S.-made AK, a bunch of reliability improvements and durability improvements over previous versions that we've made.
Good to know.
So it's sort of like a built for tough kind of AK variant.
And I noticed you guys have a 50-round drum. Was it 50-round drum?
75
rounds. So I need to get my hands on one of them from
Are you allowed to have those here?
I am. Because
you are? Okay. All right.
And with the FFL we can too.
FFL, okay. So yeah, we'll definitely get you guys set up with that stuff.
Very
Make
cool.
sure you have it.
Yeah, see how fast we can maybe do a training Tuesday. How many rounds can you get down range and how fast?
Yeah, we could do one of two ways, right? How fast can you empty a mag with all hits, or how fast, how many shots and how fast, or give it like a time limit.
We could do both. We'll get a hold of Hornady.
I sell ammo too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you guys need ammo. We got ammo. That's not a problem.
Okay.
Very cool. So what is it? What is your specific job with Century? Like, what is your title? I guess
I'm the Northeast Regional Sales Manager.
Cool.
So I'm traveling all over. I mean, as far west as Ohio and as far south as Maryland,
right.
Up to Maine. So if you drew like a triangle of Northeast America, that's where I hang out.
Very cool. So you're like the subject matter expert that they kind of send out to reach out to people and enhance brand awareness.
That's how I got into sales in the first place. I come from a technical background. I went to gunsmithing school in Colorado.
Okay.
Awesome.
And then I worked as a gunsmith, and then quality control, and then I graduated and working in sales, and now doing this.
So your background in guns really helps you in the sales aspect because you actually understand what you're talking about. When they send you out and you're talking about a product line, you don't understand just that it works. You understand the how and the why of
Bingo.
working. Right?
Yeah, that's been really effective for me. Then I consider myself a gun geek first,
right?
Everything else second. Mm-hmm. So like I love guns. I love talking about guns. I love working on guns.
Right.
So when I go out and talk to people, it's really easy to talk about the technical aspects of stuff. Sometimes that can be a little dry, so just tell me if I'm boring you guys with details.
We'll spice it up.
Okay.
No, we will sit here and talk about the detailed stuff all day because my background is partially I was in the Army, as you know, but I was also a unit armor over there.
Oh, cool.
So I was involved in a lot of the servicing and a lot of the technical aspect of keeping those guns up and running and making sure that they were being serviced correctly, making sure that guys are lubricating and cleaning their stuff, right? And then I also went to, I attended correspondence training through STI.
Cool. They do a great job.
Yeah, I think that their program is really solid for people that can't travel to Colorado or that there's a gunsmithing school, I think, in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania is the close one. A good buddy of mine went there. It's a good school, too.
Yeah. I liked SDI's program. I thought they did a really great job of like getting us some hands-on experience to go along with the correspondence and the theory of it. And the last culminating kind of exercise that we do is we build an 80% lower into a complete rifle. So they send you the whole kit, machine. They
machine out the pocket and drill it out.
Yep, you machine the trigger pocket and everything, and then you actually assemble the rifle. You go out to the range and you actually have to prove that it works. And that you're actually build a functional rifle, right?
So you're taking like video of yourself and sending it to them for approval, or like
you have to send like pictures and stuff like that. You have to actually, when you're doing the projects, they're not just sending you stuff and like, here, play with this and see if you can
do it. Yeah,
they're actually, you're being evaluated on whether or not you
could do it.
Right.
That's
or
good.
How long there's actually like time limits on stuff. So if you're not vigilant about doing that stuff, can fall behind.
We had a lot of stuff like that in school as well. It was timed projects. You had X amount of schooling that you had to get in X amount of time, and if you fell behind, you had to work, come in on Saturdays or whatever, and like work harder, that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was.
So
sort of
Pat's
like
Pat's heading up our gunsmith manufacturing with the Type 7 FFL. We can do gunsmithing and manufacturing, so he's heading up that side of it. Focus being really the Type 7 is more for us to just be able to do that little extra that you can't do with gunsmithing. So somebody comes to us with a parts kit. Hey, can you put this together?
Absolutely.
Something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So Pat's heading that up with his background in gunsmithing, and I was unit armor in the military as well in the Army,
wow.
and also I'm a Glock Advanced Armor. So I'm going to help him as needed, but he's really going to be heading that side of the business up.
Really excited to get that ball rolling, man.
I'm helping out. We've already got a slew of like 40 people that want to either buy guns or have
them built.
work done on guns that they already have. So we're really excited about hitting the ground running once we have the paperwork in hand.
Cool. That sounds exciting.
So you get to be in contact with a lot of these guns on a personal basis. You were saying you have production samples and you really like to get out and shoot.
I do. I try to shoot every week if I can.
Okay.
Every once in a while, I'm like traveling or whatever I can. But
so you guys have so many new things coming out as far as even just the Canik line, right? So what's your favorite new kind of development in the Canik?
My favorite new Canik is the new Canik. It's the Elite Combat, which is our new model that just came out. And we can talk about some of the different features that are on different Caniks, but basically, I like to call the Elite Combat everything but the kitchen sink.
Okay.
Because it takes every single feature that we've come up with for inclusion in Caniks that we've worked with Canik to develop, and it puts them all in one package together. And then beyond that, we went to Salient Arms International and said,
great company.
Hey, exactly, yeah. And we said, hey, can you guys help us design like this ultimate pistol, build parts for it? And they said, yes, we can. So now we have a salient barrel. It's a threaded barrel with a salient designed muzzle nut on the end. It's also a fluted barrel, which is kind of cool. It's that salient square flute that they do. And it also has a salient sights and salient magazine funnel, which is really cool. That gun also has flat face trigger. It has +3 extenders for the mag, so the aluminum drop free extenders, not the plastic ones.
Okay, cool.
A lot of cool stuff going on there.
Yeah, that sounds like a really neat gun. I'd definitely be interested to check one out if you ever have a pre-production one in hand and you can stop by again.
They're in production right now. They're available right now. We're selling them already. We could kind of talk about the issue where it's like I didn't bring any samples with me here to New York because I didn't want to go to jail.
Right.
I was afraid.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
I was afraid I was not allowed to bring, and I don't think I can legally bring any samples in here to New York right now. We're trying to figure out ways to make that happen, like directly sending it to your guys' FFL.
Yep.
Or whatever. But on this trip, I'm afraid I don't have any guns with me. Otherwise, I would have one of those guns in my hand.
Well, the legal aspect
even then,
is totally understandable.
Even if I transferred to your FFL, I can't have the gun in my hand.
You can't touch it.
No.
I can't touch it. You guys, only you guys.
It's a
can
gun,
touch
but you can't touch it.
Okay,
You're
so
like, hey, baby,
how
I
weird
missed
is
you.
that?
Yeah, I can like point at it and be like, yeah, see this part here or that part there.
Or Matt, can you touch it for me?
Can you handle this?
Please rotate the gun slightly to the right. Vanna the gun. So I don't have any guns with me. Otherwise, I could show you directly. But we can definitely get samples sent out to you guys for evaluation in the near future. That might be a really good option for you guys to shoot some cool guns.
Definitely do Trading Tuesday with it. Get out there and.
I would love that.
Yeah,
I had a TP9 SF Elite that I ended up getting rid of in order to obtain another Glock because I was moving my whole collection in that direction. Right?
All Glocks.
I just wanted everything to be compatible. I'm so tired of having to go and buy different holsters for all of my guns, different magazines, all these. I wanted everything 9mm across the board because all the ammunition is interoperable now.
Exactly.
I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I grab a gun, I grab a holster, I have mags that fit. We're good.
I was on. It's funny. I was very firmly on the all 9mm thing, and then all of a sudden, I bought a 45, and then all of a sudden, I bought a 22, and now I'm all 9mm except for like a couple exceptions, and then the number of exceptions keeps growing.
Sure.
I was actually going to ask you that as far as what caliber is your favorite, because in my classes, I think Pat's kind of in there in the same mindset, is 9mm striker fire is primarily the most common handgun as far as action type as well as ammunition that's out there across the board. So it's kind of
I like I said, I have a whole bunch of sales sample Caniks that I use to show different gun shops and different people I talk to about Caniks. I shoot them on a regular basis. Just because I like shooting guns, because I shoot them really well, which is something I really like about Caniks. But before I started selling Caniks, I had Glocks and XDs and pistols that just about everybody has. One I still regret, I need to buy myself one now. Century for a little while carried the Grand Power line of handguns. If you guys ever get a chance to play with one of those, not striker fired, it's a hammer fired 9mm with a rotating barrel. Those things shoot phenomenally well. It's a really, really nice gun.
When you say like a rotating barrel, you're like the Beretta,
like a Beretta Cougar,
series,
or so what are some other ones? There's
Desert
so
Eagle?
few.
Desert Eagle's a bolt.
rotating
that is a
barrel,
rotating
yeah,
bolt.
that's a little bit
There's one other big one, and I don't know why it's not coming to my head right now. Someone's gonna watch this and be like, that guy doesn't know the blank.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'll figure it out. I'll send you guys an email or something.
We'll put it in the show notes.
We'll put it in the
Yeah,
show
exactly.
notes.
But either way, that system is really cool to shoot. It feels a little bit different when you're using it, which is kind of cool.
It's kind of like the Bond Arms, their new bullpup.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's quite different because it loads differently, and it's definitely an interesting gun and very small,
Very small
compact
package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mine's a little different as far as how I got into the Glock side of it because of law enforcement. So Glock 21, that's what we had to be issued, that's what we had to have, that's what we had to carry. So
All the time.
I got Glock 21, and then I'm like, well, I want something just like Pat, the magazines to be comparable. So what did I get? I got a Glock 30S. So duty weapons, a Glock 21,
Carry it on
13 round mags. Off duty is a Glock 30 with 10 round mags, and then I could always use the 13 round mags in
your Glock 30.
Yeah, my off duty.
A good buddy of mine carried a 30 for a while.
Yeah.
He ended up getting rid of it he went Glock 19.
Okay.
But
I went down to a Glock 43 with Crimson Trace.
go way down.
Yeah, and then I went from that to now I'm carrying a Walther PPS M2.
Yes. I had one of the PPS, the original PPS.
Okay.
And
one with the
the
paddle
the big,
magazine.
I said that was it's funny, it's one of those interoperabilities of training and things like that. I couldn't get used to the paddle, and I didn't want to change up
changing back and forth. Right?
So that's one of the only reason I got rid of it. I like the gun a lot, actually, but.
Well, H&K just introduced a VP9
Yep.
with the push button release because there was so much pressure from the U.S. market. In Europe, they're used to paddle releases, right?
That's
Here
their
we
thing.
have a different system in place where we started, 1911 was the standard for so long
Push button.
with the push button. So many guys were trained on that, and then the next pistols that, were popular followed that same progression.
I say Europeans, I mean, heel catch or like paddle or, but very, very few with just like a button. Which we're also used to here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they actually H&K had sent me one for a show model to check out and stuff, and gave me a good price on it, and I just couldn't. I didn't like the paddle.
didn't like the paddle.
So I sent it back to him, and I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I
Well,
buy it for the inventory, right?
You could have kept that.
Sold it. And I'm like, I literally sent it the next day. I'm like, that wasn't a good business decision. No.
That was not a smart move.
No.
You live and you learn, right?
Yeah. Maybe they'll send me another one.
Maybe they'll send you one with a proper magazine release.
You
right?
go back to them
That
now
would
and be like,
cool.
hey, I want another one now.
Yeah, remember that gun I sent back to you? Send me one with a proper magazine
Yeah.
release.
The reason I sent it back,
Right.
that's actually a good point too in that sense, is when I got the Walther, by far Walther is one of my favorite. Haven't tried the Canik yet, so I'm looking forward to getting my hand and seeing how I like it.
I think you'll like it a lot.
Awesome. But and that's really why I have the Walther PPQ M2 is my duty weapon,
Okay.
the 9mm, and then the PPS M2 is my off-duty.
A buddy of mine carried a PPQ M2 for a while and then switched to M&P.
Okay.
But yeah, he seemed to really like it at the time. I don't know why he changed. But
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm kind of biased because I am law enforcement, so that I have that side of the every law enforcement's good, right? Kind of feel maybe a few are bad, but
there's like 3 of them. They're all in movies.
Yeah.
That's their thing. They're the bad guys in movies.
those are the ones that rack the gun, and then when they get to the bad guy, they rack the gun again. Right?
They rack the gun, or they keep cocking the hammer back somehow.
Yeah.
Or
slingshot it.
before they go into a room, they put their hand on their elbow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
or
that.
Charlie's Angels. I had one girl in one of my classes, one lady, she had always done that. She was holding it up like this, and I got so sick of telling her, stop that Charlie's Angels shit, that she tagged me on Facebook afterwards, and she goes, Matt Mallory, stop that Charlie's Angels shit, and then had a picture of her or something.
Of her doing the thing.
It was
okay.
funny. She was a good sport about it, but it was driving me nuts, this Charlie's Angels stuff.
So we've talked about a lot of different things. I think that's great, but I really want to get back to this Canik series of pistols
Let's talk
that you guys have, because not only do we have you here and get a deep dive on it, but also I found when I had my TP9 SF Elite, and I'll say again, I didn't sell it because there's something wrong with the gun. Okay, I liked the gun very much. I thought it was really good, and one of the things I liked so much about it was I thought the trigger was so forgiving. I thought the trigger was very, the short travel, with the amount of pre-travel is pretty good because you have to deliberately press through that pre-travel.
And then you get
when
the
you hit
wall.
the wall,
Yep.
it's very crisp on the brake, and then when it resets, it's no travel on it.
It's like that little tiny bit, and that's
the minimum amount.
So like I said, I shoot a lot of other kinds of handguns. I have a bunch of Glocks. I like my Glocks, and I shoot Glocks well. But when I switch back and forth, when I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out and shoot my Canik samples, it always like blows my mind a little bit how easy it is to shoot the reset on the Caniks because it's so quick and so fast.
It takes a little bit to get used to the length of the trigger, like the physical length of how long the trigger itself is, right? And the trigger guard is a little bit different. Like there's just somewhat of a different feel in the hand. But I really enjoyed not only the trigger, but those Warren tactical sights. Those things are money. I love the U-notch. I love the fiber optic, and you guys include the different color. And the thing comes like basically ready to go out of the box, right? You get a holster with it. You get a magazine, 2 magazines.
Well, 2 magazines total. One mag in the gun and an extra mag.
But they give you little fiber optic rods to change out in case you snap one off or you want to go from red to green or whatever.
They come with a green one in there. They come with a little tiny strip of red one. You know, it's funny. I've never shot one with the red in it. I've never actually replaced it and done that myself. But then there's another green one, and really in case because fiber optics are prone to breaking. So it's if you ever smash it up or dig up the front of your gun and break the fiber optic channel, then you can just pull it out, put a new one.
Got that on my bow right now. I was out bow hunting the other day for deer, and I was just like, what the? And two of the 3 pins already
snapped.
Broke. So I had to change out the sight. But yeah. I feel out of place here, man. You shot.
You've never actually run a gun.
I'm like, I want to shoot one.
we will send them this way. We'll make sure you guys get a good sampling of them.
Nice.
We'll get you one of those Elite Combats, the super fancy one.
Very cool.
Probably one of these SFXs for that's our competition model right there.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's talk about that guy right there, right? Because you guys, when you said X, and I look at the look of the gun, you know where my mind immediately heads is to the X-Frame P320, right? Because they kind of.
I think our gun came out first, though.
I can't say one way or the other.
Longer that was called X, but
maybe so. But like, it's interesting how that X in both cases kind of designates it as a competition model, right?
X marks the
and
spot.
It's like well, it's like maybe it's like extreme because this isn't necessarily something that I would want to carry on an everyday basis. Concealed out of the question, but even in a duty holster,
that means you're not extreme enough.
Right, exactly.
If you drink enough Mountain Dew,
you can carry that.
Carry this.
Well, no, I need Red Bull, right? Because Red Bull gives you me wings.
Red Bull gives you competition wings. So
competition gun. No, but I love the look of it and the ported slide and the optics ready configuration.
It's an important note. It's not ported. It's actually just a lightened
they're just skeleton. So it's not ported barrel.
Actually, it's one of those things. It's one of those interesting things about guns. Is a lot of the dynamics that make a semi-automatic firearm work are a lot more precise and fragile than we as gun guys generally think they are.
So when we start lightning slides, that's not always engineered into the design of the gun, right?
That's what it was engineered because what happened here is you have a longer slide. So you have a longer slide that's heavier, and in some cases we're putting optics on this, so we're making it even heavier than that. Right. And what that's doing is that's changing the dynamic of how the gun cycles.
So we'll just take out some material.
We need to take out some material to kind of compensate. Yeah.
That's a really good design element.
It is. It was a necessary design element.
That was one of the things they really talked about in the Glock Advanced Armors course is modifying guns and changing things out, adding titanium barrels that starts messing with the weight balance, and then you start having malfunctions. When I did we do an advanced pistol class. We do a lot of things. We have a dog stapled to a bucket and with a rope, and you have somebody stand there, and the dog's behind you, and I go threat, and they've actually got to turn around, draw the firearm, start shooting at this bucket that's bouncing towards them.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we do that. That's different things.
That reminds me about the craziest thing. A good buddy of mine's from Alaska, and I actually went and visited Alaska with this guy. He was telling me about the whole time. I carried 4 or 5 caliber pistol because bears.
Yeah,
and
make a 46, right?
because I'm that guy who shoots nothing but 9mm. Realistically, I don't get into those kind of arguments. But bears,
right?
bears are not people.
They're a real thing.
There's that whole never shoot a large caliber man with a small caliber bullet.
A bear,
whatever.
way
A bear is the
bigger
largest caliber man. Anyway, he's like,
80 pounds.
it was the funniest thing because I get there, I'm like, I got this 45, and my buddy's like, that's not gonna do you any good.
Yeah.
He's like, if the bear comes, he's like, you're gonna want a 12 gauge, you're gonna die. Like whatever, like just accept that. I'm like, okay. No bears ever came, but he was telling me he took a self-defense course for bears, and one thing they do.
Add that to the calendar.
That would be awesome.
To simulate the charging bear, they take an ATV with a rope, and then they take like a sled with like a refrigerator box on it, like something big.
Wow.
And then
I was thinking a 55-gallon drum, but
the ATV starts at your side, so it's not dangerous.
Right.
Yep.
And he guns it because bears, they can run up to it's like 35 miles an hour or
Crazy.
something. And you have to put rounds on the refrigerator box, and I think it's got like a target on it. And so you gotta go, oh no, unholster your gun and it's some big giant revolver or whatever, and blast and shoot this thing before it reaches you in 2 seconds.
sounds like
It
another
sounds
course we got to
super
do.
fun.
That song does, yeah. So it's kind of the same thing with that with the bucket.
Same general idea.
Yeah, we have somebody standing beside you, and then I say threat. Once I say threat, that person starts running that way.
And
with
you
the
gotta
rope,
turn.
And you've got to turn around and draw your fire once your hips are facing that way, and then come down in the bucket.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
But it's 10-round magazine. I think the most we had was 4 hits on a bucket. So my question, and this is we do that drill specifically to tell people, where'd those other 6 rounds go?
Into a crowd of people.
Right, ricochet off the ground, because there was a case actually last year that 2 officers were walking down one side of the road. Lady came home from the grocery store, opened the door, pit bull came running out the door, down the hill, across the road. Officer pulled his gun, shot at the dog, and ricocheted off the ground and hit the kid. The owner of the dog killed the kid.
That's awful.
Yeah. So I use
I
that.
say I have a pit bull breed dog at home. I'm like, buddy, stay away from cops. We keep him in the house. And he's not I don't know. He's not aggressive or anything.
Dude,
so I don't think it's a problem.
I
But
get it. I have 2 German Shepherds and a Belgian Malinois in my house. And so when Matt was like, hey, we're going to be shooting at a bucket with a dog on it, I would hard pass. I will not be running this drill. You want to shoot up some man targets? Got it, no problem. You want to shoot up some dog targets? Find somebody else.
No, you can't do it.
I like dogs way more than I like.
You had no problem shooting at the blonde that we had on the steel target, right?
Oh man, she got it right.
We did a hostage situation. We had a steel target with a female's face, and then we had a cardboard IPSC target.
Off at the side.
The guy is a really gruff-looking guy, and you're supposed to shoot the guy.
I definitely missed the first one.
It's like, why are you
hostage
shooting?
rescue team.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
I actually
no-go
shot.
at that
I shot 2 years ago at Red October, the big AK shoot in Utah. And I'm embarrassed by the number of times I'm the hostage target.
Yeah.
I would have 2 rounds here and one that just barely touched the hostage.
Right.
And I'm like, they would have lived.
Right. I mean,
They'd have been
little
fine.
Band-Aid or a butterfly stick.
It's only a 7.62 round through their arm. But
They'll live.
that's
You got a tourniquet
that's
on.
not
Right
that
here.
bad.
There's my tourniquet.
Well, I love drills and things like that force accountability of every single round that you
Get that
fire.
cognitive thinking.
Right.
You got to get that. You get the heart rate up.
You had a mental cycle in there so that you actually have to think about something. It's not just a target standing in front of you. There's a thought process that has to happen before we can make a decision to break that shot, right?
And so I don't forget my thought process. The reason we got on that tangent, which we always squirrel, right? Always have that.
I do that bad in conversations. It's a problem.
One of the students had a Glock, and the first class he took was the USCCA Certified Concealed Carry, which CCHDF is the acronym for it with the USCCA. He took that. He was having malfunctions with this gun, and it was beautiful.
Really?
And he did a ton of work to it.
And
I go,
did a ton
and I
of work
said,
to
"This
it.
isn't your right. This isn't your defensive gun." And he goes, "Yeah, it's my daily carry." I'm like. He goes, I don't know what's wrong. I'm like, well, better to find out. It's never done it before. And that's the epitome of what somebody says. Never happened before, right? So the gun was loaded, my finger was on the trigger, but I've never shot at somebody on accident, negligently.
Important question here. That student, if they had a failure during that drill, did they immediately do something get that mag out, rack it out, get a new mag in, or did they rack it, keep shooting?
And he kept having misfires, etc., with it, and he did. I mean, that was part of the class, teaching him how to do slap, rack, roll, attack, rack, bang,
all that stuff. Because it's one thing if the gun doesn't work, it's another thing.
You're standing there.
Because if that happens to you, if that happens to you and you really need that gun, you better be ready to instantly get that gun going.
See immediate action.
So
exactly.
I have him come to the master course. Now, he came to I wanted to come to the master course. He comes to the next one, right? The advanced course. The advanced course, same gun, more issues. And I'm like, he goes, I thought I fixed it. I'm like, fixing it would be restoring it back to its original state. And he's like, I can't. I sold all the parts because the parts I bought are more expensive.
So expensive, yeah.
So the next class, the master class now, he brings it again. Issues again. And I'm like, dude.
You need to get a new gun.
And he's still carrying this
gun. And I'm like,
you should not be carrying that gun.
And I'm like, are you finally is this finally the, like, writing on the wall that you cannot be carrying that gun? It's not going to save your life. It's going to cost you your life. And he's like, yep, you're right. Dude. So I need to check back with him now.
Go and buy a dead stock. And like, you know, like I'm the guy, I'm here to talk about Caniks. My job is to sell Caniks. I think Caniks are awesome. If you carry a Glock, if you carry an M&P, if you carry a Walther, whatever it is, just make sure whatever it is works every single time. Because that's like the most important part. Yeah. Like, that's the whole game.
Well, when people are modifying, and Pat and I talk about this all the time, people modifying their guns and putting, we actually in the law enforcement use of force refresher that I just did, I had to do a refresher with them. We came up too, you know, you get your dust cover on your AR, and what does it say?
You're effed.
You're effed, or, you know, kill them all, let God sort them out. Or the back, you know, your back plate on your
Punisher logo,
or Grim Reaper logo.
I'm just going on a limb here. I know it won't last forever, but I'm so glad stuff like that doesn't yet exist for Caniks. To my knowledge, I don't think anything like that.
And just as he's saying that, some
guy's like,
in his
you know what I'm going to do?
Now
there's a market for it because nobody else is doing it.
No one does this.
Yeah, you just opened up a whole can of worms.
There's like
on yourself
150,000 Caniks out there now. Like, I'm sure someone will do it. We're just barely starting to see aftermarket parts like root blocks and things like that. The other day I was in a shop and some guy came in with his SFX while I was there and was trying to find out. He was hoping the shop that I went into would install an aftermarket trigger for him.
With a flat face on it.
It was it was a flat face. It was huge aluminum flat face trigger. Yeah.
Do you know who makes it by chance?
I forgot. I took a picture of it with my phone, but I don't think it's still on my phone now. Just because it was the first big aftermarket accessory I'd seen for Caniks.
That was the one thing about the gun that I was like, you know what? If I had my druthers, right, I would have a flat face trigger on this gun, and if they make a flat face trigger for it later on, I would purchase one. Because to me, I put an Overwatch precision trigger in one of my Glocks, and no matter what trigger, because I moved it around from one Glock to another Glock to another Glock, and no matter what gun I put it in, I always am just able to consistently group shots really well. There's just something about having a flat face trigger on a pistol that to me it just feels correct.
Well, the one you showed me, I can't remember which one it was. The
17.
Yeah, that was a nice trigger on that.
Yeah, it's got a 5.5 pound spring, so it's not even like lighter than a factory spring. It's just really short travel.
Yeah.
Real quick for all the viewers out there, when you're ready to buy a Canik from us, okay, and you want the trigger and Pat's ready to install it, we'll hook you up.
Oh, for sure.
Cool. By the way, our Elite Combat, that's what I was trying to say, our Elite Combat has flat face.
I know the factory.
Nice. And I don't hold me to this right away because I don't know exactly how long it'll take before you start seeing it. But there's a plan to have that flat face trigger available as a kit. Because it's the same internal part, so you can put that in. You could take it out of an Elite Combat, put it in any other Canik. Right. So we're hoping to have that available as an accessory shortly.
When I'm looking through this catalog,
by the way, again, there was a couple of slight changes between what's in this 2008 catalog and what came out of the Combat Elite. We have a flat face trigger. It doesn't look exactly like the one in those pictures.
Right.
It looks a little bit different. It's a little bit broad, if that makes any sense. It's kind of different. It's probably one of the broadest trigger safeties that I've ever seen on any trigger. And at first I thought it was kind of weird. But when I started playing with it and actually using it, I find I really like it. There's no, guys, there's always people talking about how much of the pad of your index finger to use when engaging the trigger.
Right.
There's no question with the production model because it's like, well, this is flat and your finger's going to go here. It's not going to go anywhere else. Like, this is just going to happen. And I find I really like it. But
when I look through this, I'm just so impressed by all of the different members of this family that you guys have been able to produce, and it is because the initial versions were such good production pistols right out of the gate that there's a demand for broadening that line out because people want more of these guns, which I think is so cool.
That's what we found. That it's been actually really amazing working with the company. Utku, who's the director, I don't know if he's the owner of the company, I don't know exactly how that works, but he's the director of the company, he's their CEO, travels the United States on a regular basis, he goes to every show with us, we hang out with him all the time, he's a really good dude. What's been amazing about our working with Canik is Canik came to us with a gun that was good to go. That was like, it was reliable.
Yeah.
It had a good trigger. It was effective. It was a good basic gun.
Right.
But what's made our relationship with Canik really awesome, in my opinion, is those of us within the company that actually shoot, that actually like using guns, and do it quite often.
Like these specific guns, right?
We can, well, just in general, like, I think I think in a lot of firearms companies, it's kind of an unspoken thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people, I call them business mooks or just suits. They're not gun guys.
Right.
They're guys who make money for a living, and they're like finance guys or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're at the top of every organization. Everybody has them.
Or they start an organization
Or
or start a company because
Bingo,
they see money in the
because it's
industry.
money.
Yeah.
And it's all about the money. It's not about actually going out and doing the training or doing the shooting or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What's been great for us is those of us at Century who are big into shooting,
Mm-hmm.
we've been able to go back to Utku, who himself is, this is really interesting, because he's a business guy. He's very well educated. He's also a mechanical engineer. He's actually done a lot of the design work for the guns himself.
Wow.
And he likes to shoot, and he likes to do all this stuff.
So he understands what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Bingo.
He's got
And you can
technical
tell,
background.
you can actually start talking to him. Yeah, he has such an extensive technical background that you can actually talk to him about certain things on the gun, and he'll be like, "No, I'm sorry, we can't do that because of this." Like he'll explain to you very simply why you can't have a certain thing the way you want it. But if you can have, that's what I was trying to get at, is if we go back and say, "Hey, we want a competition gun that's optics ready out of the box, so anyone can put optics on it." He's just
That's
like,
a great idea.
"That's a great idea.
Let's do it."
Let's just do it." And yeah, exactly. And it's exactly what he does. And it's made it possible for us to take Canik from the entry, like the SFs and the SAs,
Right, yeah.
which are great guns, and then
Fantastic.
start adding features and all these different things and make more of a concealed carry minded model with the Elite, to make more of a competition minded model with the SFX, and to continue to progress and do that kind of stuff.
Increase market penetration, right?
Well, and really is just give shooters what the kind of features they really want or expect, or what we really wanted to accomplish with this new Elite Combat, and what I think we've done really well with. At the end of the day, the Elite Combat, by the way, is our most expensive Canik.
Okay.
It has an MSRP of around $850.
Which, as your most expensive gun, your flagship gun, that's super reasonable.
That's what I'm saying is when you consider the fact that it's got parts from Salient Arms International, it's got all these different features, it's optics ready, it's got extended controls. If you took, any other gun, I want to say a Glock 19, that's normally my go-to example, but let's just say we took an Elite, like a standard regular Elite, and we went to a custom shop, we went to Salient Arms, and we said, "Hey, can you do all this stuff?"
An RMR cut and all these different things, right?
It's going to cost you so much money
Probably
to
cost you
have
more
that.
than the MSRP,
And so-
right?
It would. I mean, in fact, we're almost positive it would from, doing, well, not almost, we are positive it would because we went through and did all the math. But it's one of those things, is giving people the options that we know shooters are going out there and paying for, and they're spending a lot of money to get these features. Our whole thing with Canik is, can we give them all the same features and the same quality of a gun and have it cost way less?
So I'll tell you this, I think the
That's what
quality
we've been
is
able to
there
do.
from my experience, from my individual experience. I probably only put 1,500 rounds or so through my gun,
Through your original
1,000 or 1,500 maybe. But I really did enjoy shooting it. And when I first got it, the learning curve as far as training, I felt like for a new shooter in particular, because it's such a forgiving trigger design and it's so simple to operate from a mechanical perspective, and there were so many different things about it that I liked that didn't need to be changed or tweaked or modified in some way, that I was like, this is a great out-of-the-box option. And coming from Turkey, right? Turkey has a long history of producing quality firearms at a really reasonable cost to us, right, as the end users. And the finishes, like I love the no frills kind of approach to the finishes. Like you guys don't do fancy
Real
bluing
simple
or-
stuff. Yeah,
right.
We've kept, we have different, we can, because it's Cerakote finish on the top,
Yeah.
we can kind of change that to whatever people want, but we're trying really hard to keep it somewhat minimal, because in the past we've experimented as a company, as well as you live and learn.
Yeah.
If you offer too many colors, people aren't going to like half of them. So we want to keep that kind of simple, but we will keep putting out different color options and things like that for people who want, the FDE gun or whatever.
Well, I think a lot of people too, at some point, if you've got the base colors that are the most common colors out there, and they wanted to do a color of their own later,
They could do
like
that.
They can always have it Cerakoted by
In
some.
particular, some of the price points of these guns. I mean, if you're buying this gun and it's not exactly what you want, well, guess what? There's a good chance that you saved enough money by not pulling the trigger on something at a higher price point that you can actually go and modify the gun and make it into whatever you're looking for.
Exactly.
And in particular now with all the, as I look through your catalog again, so many different parts have come out and so many different things are available. You got compliant models for different states, right?
We do have that.
And I know you guys have compliant models of like your AK variants and things like that too for California people and things like that. So there's so much out there in terms of what Century Arms, not just the Canik, but all the improvements that you guys are making across the product line, that it's just amazing. So if whatever you think Century Arms used to be, because there was a sort of reputation,
There was sort of a reputation
at a certain point in time. So I don't want to let you guys totally off the hook for that.
It's okay. I've been with the company for a long time, and I've seen it change.
You've seen a progression, right?
And
That's awesome.
I mean, the things that I have seen in the time since I've been there, it's really amazing to watch a company change as much as it has. And it's definitely also about we really embrace the culture of continuous improvement.
Yes.
So it's like no matter where we are today, that doesn't change the fact that we're going to just keep trying to make better stuff or design better stuff or buy better stuff or whatever we have to do.
Well, hey, when you say continuous improvement, it's continuous customer-driven improvement. That's not even, it's not something that it's coming from the top and this is what we're going to do. It's coming from the people that you guys are listening to on customer service calls and interacting with and getting emails from, and the input that you guys have from Salient Arms and other industry partners that are really helping you to continue to grow the brand into something that, you know, you guys have reputable, great products.
It's been good.
Yeah, so that's really awesome. I'm definitely going to look into one of your compliant AK. I wanted to ask you, are they milled or stamped on the U.S. made ones?
We make both.
You make milled and stamped?
make
'Cause I like
both.
milled receivers. I want milled receivers.
So that's a thing to talk to you guys about, though, and this is something I've been looking into. So one of my biggest things as a Northeast guy, like I said, I have all these restrictions. I started looking at New York, and as soon as I did, I started talking to dealers, and dealers said, "Why don't you make us a New York legal AK?"
Right.
And I said, "Well, that should be easy, right? That should be a simple deal."
Right.
And this is the thing, and you know more about New York's laws than anybody, so I will ask you about this. But we make a California compliant model, and there's actually a picture of it here. And this isn't the only one. This is So this is a California compliant version of our
Magpul, fore-end and stuff.
Yep, and specifically, this is our milled gun. This is our C39V2 with Magpul on it. So you can take a look there. I can hold it up for everybody to look. It's got this interesting grip on it. It's called a Monster Man grip. Wait, there we go. Monster Man grip. So I'm having a lot of trouble with this. It's really hard to do. It's not a thumb hole because I guess thumb holes aren't allowed anymore.
And it doesn't protrude below the...
Like the one above it.
And then it also has a muzzle nut on the end over here.
which can be pinned and welded.
Could be pinned and welded.
Okay.
So that's no problem. So that should be, and it's got 10 round mags. 10 round mags.
And no bayonet lug. I know
No bayonet lug. Well, no, actually, that's an interesting thing with us. None of our guns have bayonet lugs.
Fine. Good.
That's just a side effect of when we designed all the parts in the United States and started like working on that. I don't know why we left a bayonet lug off originally, but because we did at some point, we're kind of stuck with that on our gas block.
Right.
For at least for now, we might have a bayonet lug in the future. So anyway, that's California compliant. It's good to go.
Yeah, you're fine with that one, Matt, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so
right?
But we're not fine in New York.
because there is a list of some guns that are banned. Such
So-
as the Uzi is a banned gun. So even if you met all the requirements of a semi-automatic with a detachable magazine, then X has to fall in play. You can't have this, that, or this. So if it's a pin magazine, it would be good. But the problem is that the AK-47 is one of those guns on that banned
And
list.
what I saw on and so I went to my compliance department and I said, hey, can we make this for New York, please? And they said no, and they sent me a clip from your New York Safe Act, which specifically said, it didn't, what I read, it didn't specifically say AKs were banned, but it said any AK type rifle from the following manufacturers, and it listed like a dozen or so manufacturers, and who's right there at the top? Century Arms.
Well, because you guys aren't manufacturing from U.S.-made receivers, is that?
Something to that extent.
Our Romanian stuff, the famous Wazers and all that, those are made by a company called Kugir. And Kugir's name was also specifically listed on that list as well, as were a number of other, I won't say we weren't alone in this, there was a number of other manufacturers. I don't know, I felt it seemed discriminatory to me.
Almost definitely. So you guys are going to sue them. Sue New York State.
I've been screaming about it at work, but lawsuits are expensive, so I don't know if they'll do it or not. I thought it would be great if we could get a class action, like find every company whose name is specifically discriminated against. Because based on that wording, you guys you're going to manufacture Type 7.
Yep.
So you guys could build an AK with an AK receiver, just like that. You could do that here, and it would be okay.
Yeah,
because
it's not you.
But so I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's straight up discrimination.
It is, totally. And
but-
the good thing of that, if there was a class action lawsuit, that it would go to the Supreme Court almost guaranteed. And by the
Wow.
time it gets to the Supreme Court, what do we got?
It's all, yeah, who knows? Maybe we
Much more
get some stuff
conservative
turned.
judges potentially.
So there is a good likelihood that something like that could make it all the way to the Supreme Court, especially if, I mean, I don't know about the class action side, but if, you know, if it was brought up and it kept getting appealed up. Then
So is
might
that
be
how Lee Army got away with that? Is they manufacture their receivers in the U.S.?
something to that extent. And I don't think Lee is on that list of
They're not on
companies.
Well, because they're new. The list came out prior to Lee Army's
2015.
existence, I believe. Right?
So, and that's-
they're kind
that-
of new to the
you know,
AK game.
It's one of those things, with laws like that, like I don't agree with any of that stuff, just personally. But that's just, I don't agree with any gun regulations that are related to what kind of guns people should own or can own. But if you're going to do it, it's one thing to say the thing must be this. You must meet these criteria. But it's something totally different, in my opinion, to say say. But no matter what you do, you're not allowed. Period.
You can't have a century arm.
That's to me. That's just horrible. Like that.
The law in itself falls flat on its face, because if you look at it, a semi-automatic with a pin magazine, what have you changed? I mean, the mag, but now let's change some of the other things. It still shoots the same. Let's say it is a 10-round magazine that doesn't have all these other cosmetic things, right? So now what? Same ammunition, same rate of fire, same death or despair that it can dish out.
If you get shot, it's going to cause you to have a bad day.
That's what it's designed to do.
That's
right?
exactly what it's. So it's designed to cause other people to have a bad day.
So changing the looks of it isn't going to stop what what it can do.
It's still a tool that throws bullets, right?
Exactly. I always say that, guns, and I always make this joke in my classes. I'll have all the handguns bagged up before, and we get past the first part of it, and the second part we get into, and I'll say, okay, I left my guns all bagged up, because I don't want them to assault or harass or offend anybody, and they've done it in the past. So if they do assault, harass, or offend any of you, tell me, because they will be punished, and they know they'll be in trouble. And then everybody's just like, huh? What? And
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
How ludicrous does that sound?
It doesn't make any sense.
Guns are an inanimate object. They're a tool, just like a lot of our politicians.
Boom.
I mostly agree. I mostly agree. I have to be careful what I say. I'm representing the company right now. But, I think the company would agree with me with, not being in favor of such legislation. But
I always default to individual liberty, and I'm sure that most of the people at Century Arms are the same way.
I think all of us
I think
are.
they
There's
probably
200 plus of us now.
So you don't want to be
I don't
the
know
one
everybody,
mouthpiece,
but
right?
But yeah, no, and at the end of the day, it's like you said, the guns themselves are not the problem.
They're an inanimate object. They don't do death and despair. That's why I call them active killers, not active shooters. It's what they're doing.
Because they're
not what
actively
tool.
trying to kill people.
Right. They can use
It
whatever tool they
wouldn't
want.
matter if they were shooting or not, if they run somebody over with a truck or blow themselves up,
Which they've done.
or hit
Pressure
somebody in the head with a
cooker,
baseball bat,
knife.
pressure cooker bomb.
Yeah.
There's the crazy knife attack in China there where, that was a bunch of dudes that they're just running around stabbing folks.
But over 100
Very
people
common in
lost
Asia.
their lot or were in serious condition.
Really
over that,
horrible. Yeah.
Well, if you look at
with a knife.
the history of the AR, right? What does AR stand for?
Armalite rifle.
Armalite rifle. The company invented in the 1950s as an American rifle, as a civilian rifle before it became military. Now, it doesn't stand for assault rifle, doesn't stand for automatic rifle. And though I love America,
Most people don't know that.
right? And they don't.
Most
and I
people
try to
think that
educate
it means
people
something
so
else.
much. And though I love America, it doesn't stand for American rifle. It stands for Armalite rifle.
It should be changed.
We
to
just
just
need
be
to change it to
American
America's
rifle.
Yeah, exactly.
As a guy who comes from a company that makes AKs, even I would consent to that. That's
America's rifle.
America's rifle. My favorite was I heard some anti-gun thing somewhere where they said that AK meant automatic killer
Oh my
or
goodness.
something. Yeah.
And the 47 is 47 bullets with each pull of the trigger. Yeah.
It's more bullets than are actually in the magazine normally anyway. But
Them fully semi-automatic guns are
fully-
very scary.
fully semi-automatic.
Oh my
As I was joking with somebody the other day, so we have a new model of AK, our newest stamped U.S. made AK, which is one that I'd really like to send out here for you guys for test and evaluation. It is not in a New York friendly configuration. You guys can have it and play with it.
We can.
But it's a really cool new gun. It's not actually in that catalog yet because that catalog's just about to become outdated. We're about to have our 2019 catalog coming out here any day now. It's a really great new gun. We made a stamped gun before, and it was a great gun that sold really well. There were certain features of it that didn't have the best durability, mainly Some of the working parts were prone to breakage or damage.
Was it a heat treating issue from outside manufacturers?
It was kind of a heat treating issue, and it was kind of a materials choice issue.
Okay.
So we basically went back to the heart, what I call the heart of the gun on most modern firearms, called trunnion, and we replaced the trunnion with a fully billet machine trunnion. It's made out of tool steel.
So it's one piece of billet machine steel.
It's very hardcore. Yes.
Yeah.
And I forget where I was going with this. I was going somewhere important.
Send us.
This is funny. So this buddy of mine,
I'm going to the part where
I will send you guys one. It was funny. So this buddy of mine goes, when you guys test those things, you test them to like tens of thousands of rounds, right? And I'm like, yeah, no, they absolutely do. We have a whole bunch of samples, and they test them, and they shoot them X number of thousands of rounds a day for however many days.
Right.
They inspect all the parts every X number of like hundreds of rounds or whatever. And he goes, do you do that on full auto? And I'm like, full semi-auto. We actually don't build them as we build them the way that we would build them to sell them, which is as semi-autos.
Yeah,
and then we test them as semi-autos. So,
and speaking of that too, full auto, and as we wrap up here, what both your thoughts on full auto versus semi? I know Pat and we've talked about it in the past, but I personally, I'll start it. I guess I personally think that full auto is a waste. I mean, yeah, it's fun.
It's a lot
Let's
of
have
fun.
it. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
But as far as economical, as far as accuracy, yeah. So as somebody who's an active killer out there doing bad things, semi-automatic. I mean, most active killers in schools are what, right? One at a time. They're not coming in mowing people down. So
I think it's funny. I think if they try to mow people down like that, that's normally when there's less people killed, more people injured.
Yeah.
And I think it's when they're like, I have all the time in the world. No one's coming to stop me from doing this horrible thing.
It's a gun-free zone.
There's
nobody around with
it's going to take X amount of time for anyone to respond to this place.
Yeah.
And what's horrible is the people who are doing these things, we can't. It's easy to say that they're crazy people and they were things that and obviously they're not thinking straight. And obviously they're probably seriously mentally screwed up if they're going to go out and do that kind of thing. But you can't. It's like you can't underestimate your enemies. You can't underestimate these people. It's obvious that when they plan these things, they pick public locations where there's the most number of people to shoot, and where they think they can shoot the most number of people before law enforcement or anyone can respond. Exactly. So it's like they. I think maybe not all of them. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit here, but I think they really do go out of their way to maximize casualties by thinking about those kind of factors.
And I think they're evolving too. I think that they're looking at other active killers, and
this was
what
really
is a more deadly course of action that this person
I want to
could
one
have
up
taken.
them. I want to be the next person that had the most amount of casualties. I mean, if you look at with the highest death rates in any of these events, there's an 18-month window of the top 5 death rates
in 18 months.
In an 18-month span,
and then
that was just recently.
You could easily say that that's based on like a copycat behavior. Like
Well, it's also based on the way that they portray it in the news media, because they give away so much information that if I were a copycat, I might understand where this guy slipped up. I might understand what this guy did well. I might understand the time, the place, the environment choices, right? And I might understand what the most deadly course of action would have been as opposed to the course of action that somebody took, right? So if you're asking me about automatic fire versus semi-automatic fire, I have a couple thoughts on that. The first one is, in a military application, somebody's shooting at you, what's the first thing you need to do? Establish fire superiority, right? And get off the X and make something happen. Right. So fully automatic fire in that application is the appropriate thing to do. Sure. Because if I have incoming bullets, I want more bullets going the opposite direction so I can shoot, move, communicate, and I can close that distance and locate, close with, and destroy my enemy. Right?
And that being said, with that though, in military, we always talk about doing suppressive fire, but in a civilian aspect and in a law enforcement aspect, we're never doing suppressive.
Well, and that's where I was going to, the precision of the fire.
Right.
If I'm looking for precise, accurate fire, I need well-aimed shots, which means I need a good, stable position, which means I need that semi-automatic capability because I need to be able to selectively deliver one good shot, right? And in particular, in some of these situations we're talking about where a guy is out there on his own and he's probably not carrying too much ammo. I mean, maybe he's got 300 rounds, right? But he still has to be somewhat selective if he intends to survive because he wants to have enough ammunition to potentially engage law enforcement and escape, right? So what he doesn't want to do is waste a whole bunch of ammunition shooting up unarmed people with fully automatic fire. Now, I don't want to give anybody any ideas, so I'm going to be a little bit careful about what I'm saying here, but So there's a difference between precise fire and accurate fire and volume of fire and accuracy by volume and fire suppression. And so the tactical situation to me is going to dictate which one I'm in favor of at the moment. But from a civilian application, I prefer semi-automatic fire even to like a binary trigger, because to me, the binary trigger creates such a training issue where the bullets can potentially be discharged when you release the trigger. And if you haven't put that weapon on safe to delete, to eliminate that possibility, you're setting yourself up to fail. And even the bump stock thing, it's really easy to overestimate your capability to hold that weapon still. And I've been guilty of it myself. If I'm not driving the gun and being my default aggressive self behind that gun, I'm not going to control it. I'm a 170-pound cat. I'm pretty strong, but I might not be able to control that gun if I'm not in that good aggressive stance, right? So there's training issues that come into play with full auto versus semi-auto.
Well, we've seen it with the Uzi down in Florida or Texas or something.
Yeah, the young girl,
the instructor, killed the instructor.
Very unfortunate situation. That instructor should have been more knowledgeable about the capabilities of the shooter versus the capabilities of the tool that she was using, right?
So you're going to say something, I think I stepped on you there.
So I've never been in law enforcement. I've never been in the military.
Okay.
I'm just a regular American gun-loving Joe guy.
Nothing wrong with that.
And I really like shooting machine guns.
Cool.
If we're talking about a defensive scenario, probably not.
Gotcha.
The only thing I can think of, so this guy I work with, another Century guy, we just hired him on. He's a really cool dude. He has a huge training background, like 30 years training background. And this is just something I pontificated about a little bit, so I'll let you guys decide on this, what you think. I don't know. It's something I've definitely thought about. So something I thought was interesting, I was hanging out with this guy. He's 30-year training background. He's actually in the South African Defense Force and fought in the border war in the 80s.
Okay.
He shot his fair number of folks.
Sure, he's been around.
Yeah.
He gets it, right?
Yeah, and he'd also worked with a private military contractor for a while during the 90s.
So a lot of operational experience, really.
Bingo.
Right.
And it was funny, we were talking about something, and I forget why we were talking about, shooting folks or the need to shoot folks. And he said, well, Tony, if you ever need to shoot somebody, he goes, and with his funny accent, I can't do his accent. I wish I could because it would sound hilarious. South Africans have a weird accent. It's sort of British, and it sort of makes them sound like they're from New Zealand. Yeah. I don't understand.
Kind of crazy, yeah.
Anyway, he says, you just got to zip them up. And I said, the what? And he goes, just start low. He goes, you just shoot them and shoot them and shoot them some more. Like, it's not about I think a lot of times when we talk about like self-defense, there's a certain amount of restraint that you have to talk about using because you're accountable for every round. But his whole thing, and this is all from operational military side of things, it's like if someone is trying to kill you with a gun and you have to kill them with a gun, you're going to shoot them, and you're not just going to shoot them, you're going to shoot them a whole bunch of times until they're dead.
They stop,
until there's no way that they're still a threat. So what I've thought about lately, and this is interesting, I've also noticed there's definitely a propensity in the U.S. training community that there's, that weird crisscross between like the 3-gun community and the training community coming in. Yep. You get the guys, they got a nice, like real extended, like thumb over bore rifle stance, and they come around on a target and they're like shooting steel or something. It's like clank, 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 real fast. Yeah. 3 or 4 or 6 rounds. From a gun guy perspective, I've actually thought a little bit about how things would be different if we could own fully automatic weapons, and would people in like that defensive carbine sort of setting, would they be just running a gun on full auto all the time with a big compensator, with an extended handguard, with that recoil mitigative stance? Where a lot of people, they talk about that stance and they're like, well, you're only shooting 5.56 anyway, right? Like it's not that big a deal. But that allows you especially in more of the competition side of things, to put a bunch of rounds really rapidly in a really small space. My thinking is, if you had that full auto capability, could you apply that same both volume of fire to very much incapacitate a target, along with zip them up?
Well,
I don't know. That's just a thing that I thought about before. I don't know.
So an M249 saw weighs some ungodly amount more than an M16A4, right? And there's a reason why. Even though it's only shooting 5.56, at that rate of fire, you need something that's got some weight to it that's going to
holds it down.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why the M16A3 was an automatic and the M16A4 was going back to 3-round bursts, right? Yep. And it's because of that fire control, that fire discipline, and that ability to deliver accurate shots so that we're not wasting entire magazines of ammunition.
True.
However, in the conventional forces, we typically run an M4 with a 3-round, well, it used to be, now they're going to M4A1s pretty much across the board.
Full auto again.
Right, but
Yeah,
it used to be that pretty much the special operations guys had M4A1s, and then
everybody
regular
else.
troops, right, in the combat engineers or in the infantry units, they would have 3-round burst guns, right? And the reason why, how much more ammo do the SOF guys shoot in a year than a conventional
Thousands
troop?
They shoot like competitive shooters.
They're shooting hundreds of rounds potentially in every single training day, right?
Yep.
So when they're out on the range, the money situation doesn't affect them in the same way that it affects the big army, right?
And they have the training to really confidently and
They have the
effectively
hours
use.
behind the
Right.
gun that it takes to really become
Throw that money
proficient
at
with that, right? So there's a training issue that's happening. There's an accountability of ammo issue that's happening. There's a lot of different factors at play. But for me personally, I think on the civilian side, I'm glad that we are relegated to semi-automatics, just from the sense of I don't want my neighbor, right? I try to turn it back on what if I'm going to be the person affected, right? Because some nut job out there is going to go and do something that they can't handle, and I'm going to suffer the consequences, just like some other person might, right? So I try and turn that and look at it from my own personal, put myself in an empathetic type of position. Where I'm like,
And you
hey,
definitely don't want to
what
live
if I
across
have
the
to-
street from the guy who has someone break into his house and then puts 50 rounds through his front door
Not
in the general
everybody-
direction of your house.
Right. Not everybody shoots the way that we shoot, the volume of rounds that we
that
shoot.
training.
Not everybody has been to some of the classes that we've taken, or even the ones that we teach, where it's like we can competently do these things.
I think
right?
it's funny. You talk about gun control, talk about all the different legislation out there and stuff. It's a really funny thing. As a gun guy, I am opposed to any controls on what kinds of guns people can own. Whether it's New York rules about not even being able to have thumb hole stocks, or it's machine guns. I think people should be able to own machine guns. I think people should own basically whatever they want as a weapon. But if they're tank, a buddy of mine has a tank. Well, obviously that doesn't have a live gun on it or anything, but it is cool. Bazooka, yeah, exactly. Literally anything. There's almost no. I do not draw the line.
Second Amendment doesn't say anything about not owning tanks or.
It doesn't. It says that we should be able to keep and bear arms, no matter what those arms are. Hell, and this is probably going a step too far. If I wanted to have a suitcase nuke in my basement, I feel like I should be able to have a
You can
suitcase
afford
nuke
it.
in my basement.
Maybe if we just price it appropriately.
Price it appropriately. No one's ever going to buy one anyway.
For sure.
Yeah, it's millions and millions and millions of dollars. None of us have. But anyway, what I would say is, if you want to control something, maybe it should be the barrier to entry should be based on training. And I know, and it's an interesting, because you have like a lot of states, including here. You guys train people so they can carry a gun.
Yep.
And they have to come here, and there's that level of knowledge that's required before we'll say, hey, okay, you can be trusted to be in society with a gun. It's funny, I come from a state where we have constitutional carry, where we don't have any restrictions on concealed carrying a
You
gun.
can buy a gun, you can carry the gun.
And every kid, and this is a funny thing, I know it because admittedly, I did it, right? When I turned 21, did I go out and buy a handgun and start carrying it around right away with no real training or experience? And it wasn't until I started carrying a handgun every day and I said, how well do you reasonably know how to use a handgun? I was just starting to get into the industry. When I was 21 years old, that's when I went to gunsmithing school.
Right.
And when I got home from gunsmithing school, I didn't carry because obviously I went to Colorado. I didn't have a concealed carry permit there. I could have gotten one, but I wasn't there for very long.
Right.
And then I came home and I started carrying every day. And that's when I was like, well, wait a minute, what are you doing right now? You're 22 years old. You're carrying a gun every day, and you don't have any real training. And that's when I went out. And luckily, I had some really close friends, one of which was a private military contractor, ex-U.S. military. Nice. He did a bunch of training with a group of us and got sort of like all the basic stuff established. And then it was that and shooting literally when I was carrying originally when I first started, I committed myself for the first year and a half or 2 years to shooting every single week, 50 to 100 rounds a week.
That's great.
And that's a minimal amount of training, but it's still training to maintain mechanical.
Exactly. You're only going to do
efficiency
so much, and the basic drills and things like that. But it's like you have to be, in my opinion, having people who, if you want a safer society that has weapons in it, what actually creates that situation is knowledge. It's not restriction. Because restrictions never work. And when you tell people they can't buy drugs, they're going to find a way to go to Julio on the corner and they're going to buy it anyway.
Prohibition.
It's these things don't work.
Yeah.
Whereas it's one of those, it's like, hey, if you do this stupidly, bad things are going to happen. So don't do things stupidly. Here's how you don't do that.
Well, here's the thing. You hit on licensing and training requirements. That's still a government mandate.
It's
right?
still,
so we still have
something.
There's somebody from on high still has to step in, right? And that's the thing is
whether or not that should even be happening in the first place.
Well, right. I always am trying to default back to that individual liberty, like I said earlier. However, you have to look at it from a bigger picture perspective that not everybody can handle that same thing, right? So you have to understand what you're asking yourself to do, and you have to not conflate your ego and your ability, right? Because so many of us, we get those two things confused.
Here's ability and here's ego.
Right, exactly. My ego is way up here, my ability level's down here.
Here's ego.
But I don't see the big gap there.
We gotta close that gap wherever we can.
Exactly.
It's better if you've got this going.
When you get somebody who shoots long guns, right? We get this a lot. Military people come out of the military, especially too. Or hunters, people that hunt, they'll turn around and say, well, handguns, no problem.
I know how to shoot, right?
Yeah, I know how to shoot.
I've been shooting my whole life.
Yeah, I'm an expert marksman. Well, then I usually attribute to it. I say, okay, do you drive? What kind of car do you drive? Automatic or stick? Well, it's automatic. Okay, if you put in a stick shift right now, how would you go? It'd probably be a little rough, but it's a car. Well, what's the difference? And they're just like, and I'm like, that is how you have to approach handguns and long guns. It's a different. Yes, there are guns, and cars are cars. A steering wheel is one, but
one is a 9-pound weapon with a 3-pound trigger pull. The other's a 1.5-pound weapon with a 6-pound trigger pull. There's a huge. Yeah. I stole that from Magpul, by the way. That's in the Magpul Dynamics thing.
That's really good.
Oh, from Travis Haley.
That is Travis Haley or Chris. One of those two guys said that in their pistol training, but it's true. It's you're going from something that weighs X amount and it's real easy to do this to something that weighs way less than it takes to do this.
Right.
And then, and beyond that, your training on one thing does not equal training on the other. One of my best friends, one of the guys I shoot with the most often, was an infantry marine in Iraq for 2 tours, and he got out of the military and he came home. And he was real good at running an M4. Like, really, really good. Like, he had all that stuff. It was all memorized because he had to do it to stay alive for a while. And he went out, it's just like when I got home from gunsmithing school, I went out and bought a handgun, started carrying it. He went out and bought a handgun, started carrying it around.
Right.
Made the rookie handgun where you pick the wrong gun and the wrong caliber and you don't know anything. And he said, it's the weirdest thing. He goes, the Marine Corps taught me how to shoot a rifle really, really, really well. Mm-hmm. I never touched a handgun ever.
Right.
Never. Like until he was in the military for 4 or 6 years, I forget which, and he never touched a handgun because it just wasn't part of what he did. Right. And so then he had to dedicate himself at home to shooting handgun all the time. And dude he got rid of the first handgun he bought. I forget what it was. I remember it was 40 cal. Got rid of that.
Wrong caliber.
Yes. He bought a Smith & Wesson M&P 9, and he put 30,000 rounds on the M&P 9 in a year.
Wow.
So he really devoted himself to improving that skill.
And he's the best handgun shooter I personally hang out with on any given basis. So.
I have a friend that served in the Marine Infantry as well. He was in Fallujah in 2004. Like, he definitely is an experienced dude, and I respect his professional acumen and his knowledge. Mm-hmm. But he also had no idea. He's paid me more than once to go out and help him get squared away on a handgun, right? So he had to humble himself and realize that he's conflating his ego and his ability. I know we got to go, Matt. So
no, and I mean that's fine. We the whole Larry Vickers, and we have Larry Vickers Lab come in and teach a course, and we took it. We were students in the course, and we're always telling our students, never stop training. You can never stop training. It's going to get. Just like riding a bike.
I think that's true for life. I think it's the ultimate lesson. It's not just guns, it's everything. Never stop learning new things. Because if you do, you can, but it all does is hold you back.
Yeah. Do you know why they said Socrates? I'm sorry. No. You know why they said Socrates was the wisest man of his generation, of his time?
What?
Because he knew that he knew nothing.
Yes. He also got executed for knowing too much. So just throwing that out there, he also got executed by the government for influencing the children.
Right.
Interesting. So
cool. Well, sir, it was definitely a pleasure, and hopefully we can have you back again next time you're in town.
I will be soon. Hopefully,
do some shooting.
I will make sure you guys have guns next time.
Dude, the hats are appreciated, but I like guns much better. I got to be honest.
But what you don't know is this hat is secretly also a gun.
Oh my lord,
I'm just kidding. It's,
That
it's
is
not,
illegal
It's
in New York
not. They're not actually guns. So
You've seen the new
don't put me in New York jail. I don't want to go to New York
the
jail.
new cell phone camera or the cell phone cameras, the new
Oh,
cell phone guns.
Yeah, I've seen a couple different things like that over the years.
Yep, there's one double barrel 380 handgun. I use that in my ARC-35 class and say it.
So you guys have one here? Or?
We don't.
Oh,
We're going to though.
you're going to get one?
Yeah,
Cool.
we're definitely going to get one.
Oh, by the way, these are super secret stash hats.
Yeah, I noticed.
They
the
have
little
pockets.
girl in there.
Yeah.
That's the obvious one. There's also some inside.
Oh, see,
Well, now you just gave
everybody's
him
going
the
to
secret,
know.
man.
Oh, that's true.
Tony.
Don't tell your cop friends.
Cool.
You know, but
All right, everybody, it's been a pleasure. We want to make sure we give a shout out to our sponsors. We got Lee Armory as well as Power Tax. So make sure you check out those sponsors and do business with them. And you can always check us out too because we sell
Thanks
their
for
products.
being
thanks,
And
man.
we'll see you around.
for
Stay
having me
safe, shoot straight, safe travels home.
Thank you.
Drive.
I'm hoping it's not
Yeah,
snowing.
Show, brother.
Boom.
Cool. We're out.